Alright, not the two players that I thought we would be talking about here today, but we have ourselves some interesting Canucks updates that we can really expand on if you think about it a little bit more. So, today we're talking about Vancouver Canucks stuff, we're talking about Abbotsford Canucks stuff. Let's get things started with a tweet posted by Grady Sass earlier yesterday before the Vancouver Canucks played off against the Chicago Blackhawks. This is what an NHL scout said about Vancouver Canucks forward Conor Garland. I think he could be a point-per-game player over a full season, or close to that. He drags his team into the fight and can drive play like the best of them. He wears his heart on his sleeve and is a great chirper. One of the most underappreciated players across the NHL. And that, I think, is something that we probably have good reason to acknowledge and agree with, right? Because Conor Garland has been one of the best and most consistent Vancouver Canucks players this season, bar none. Especially amongst the forwards, you can say that Garland has been the guy so far in this young campaign when it comes to driving play and just being so consistent. Like, yes, Filip Chytil has had standout games already. He's had multi-goal games and he's looked pretty good at times, but Chytil also has been very inconsistent defensively. And that's always been sort of a problem that we knew was going to be there, questioning whether or not his two-way game is up to snuff. He can backcheck, he does have the speed to do that, but when it comes to pure defensive decision-making, I think there's a lot of improvement that needs to be established for Chytil. And I can say that that's not really, like, a total indictment against him. I mean, he's never been used as a top six center before in his entire career. And with him always getting injured, it's not like he's had the necessary time to develop those defensive skills. I think a lot of that just has to do with a shift in mindset, then he'll be okay. But for Conor Garland, he does it all. He fights the good fight, stands up for his teammates, forechecks, backchecks, drives play, digs in deep into the corners, and he scores points. Conor Garland so far this season is the most productive Vancouver Canucks forward with 4 points in 5 games. Now, that is on pace for about 60 points-ish, which I hope is not the top of the Vancouver Canucks point production. I mean, Conor Garland is tied with Quinn Hughes for the Vancouver Canucks lead in points. But like we've been talking about with Quinn this entire past few weeks here, it's not like he's looked his best either. Like, admittedly, Quinn Hughes looks the same as normal mobility-wise. Like, he can move, he can skate, he can shift around, he's got all the same skating ability, but the decisions just haven't been as precise as we are used to them being, whether that be due to the system or other players in the team not adjusting to what needs to happen. New coach, new systems, new whatever. Quinn Hughes, Thatcher Demko both saying that the problems that the team has early on in the year, they're fixable problems, easily fixable. So we'll just hope that Quinn Hughes is able to bounce back sooner rather than later. There's no doubt that he will. I mean, it's Quinn Hughes. There's only one player, I'd say, that has earned the benefit of the doubt from the Vancouver Canucks fan base, and that's Quinn Hughes. Everybody else, I guess you could say Conor Garland included in that too, they kind of need to prove themselves here. Petey needs to continue to do what he's done, and he needs to start scoring points. Thatcher Demko needs to stay healthy. All these things need to happen for us to be proven, too, that this Vancouver Canucks team has what it takes. But for Conor Garland, NHL scout going out there and saying that he could be a point-per-game guy. And honestly, I buy it. Like, he's under a point per game right now, but if some of these other Canucks players had just finished a little bit better, you probably would have seen him score a little bit more points. Max Sassen's a point-per-game player right now, so there you go, it's possible, right? But with that in mind, I wanted to shift gears a little bit and start talking about yet another Canucks player. Not a Vancouver Canucks player, let's talk about an Abbotsford Canucks player right here. Rick Dhaliwal's latest update from Halford and Brough yesterday went out there and spoke about how Tom Willander is probably going to need a lot more time in Abbotsford than we think. And I wanted to give a big shout out over to Tom Willander, not because this tweet indicates that he's not looking all too great and he needs more time in the AHL, but because he actually scored his first AHL goal today against the Laval Rocket. He is now up there with 1 goal in 4 games played, so nice to see Willander getting up on the board there. And the goal itself was pretty nice. The puck was played back over to Willander at the top of the umbrella there, and he ends up just ripping it on goal. And it beats everybody. So there you go, first AHL goal for Tom Willander. But thinking about Willander needing a little bit more time in the AHL, or maybe a lot more time in the AHL, that's honestly kind of fine, in my opinion. I think the Vancouver Canucks D-Corps has established themselves as pretty stable at this point of the season, and sure, they need to be a little bit better in those first periods. I think everybody needs to be better in those first periods. But the way the pairings are and the way the pairings have rotated, you saw Quinn Hughes and Mancini playing a little bit together yesterday. You didn't necessarily just see Hronek with him. You saw Tyler Myers establish himself as a pretty okay defenseman so far throughout the year. The penalties suck, don't get me wrong. Like, Tyler Myers, chaos draft, taking a whole bunch of unnecessary calls, that is always going to annoy the hell out of this fan base. But when it comes to his pure defensive play, he's been looking a lot better as of late. And I say as of late, like over the past few years, compared to the Tyler Myers that everybody loves calling chaos draft. Marcus Pettersson, despite the fact that he let Ryan Donato go on the 1-0 goal yesterday against Chicago, I think that he's been looking pretty good. Mancini, DPD, Derek Forbort, these guys are all rotatable in the bottom of the D-Corps, and they're all looking pretty solid. Tom Willander doesn't necessarily seem like he's needed with the Vancouver Canucks right now, but also hearing that if he just needs the development of the AHL, that also is a pretty reasonable step for him. To my understanding, he wasn't necessarily the top guy in Boston University. If somebody wants to go out there and correct that, hey, feel free to, but Lane Hudson was a top guy there when he was in that organization, and then you had also, of course, Cole Hudson, Lane Hudson's brother, who was reportedly used as the top dog in BU. Tom Willander, of course, a very important part of that D-Corps, but was he the number 1? I need to get some answers there, so Willander, if he's just going out there in Abbotsford and working on his game, slowly getting better, doesn't seem like there's too much of a rush to add him up to the NHL squad. And even so, if somebody does get injured, goodness forbid, P.O. Joseph is already there on the Vancouver Canucks, ready to take over and give a shift or two. So, interesting updates here for the Vancouver Canucks and their prospects. Tom Willander, I do kind of wonder if he does take a little bit more time. Like, let's say it's already January, and he's still an AHL caliber guy, he hasn't made the jump yet. At that point, do the Vancouver Canucks start thinking about trading him away? Because we've seen this argument pop up sometimes over the past few weeks that, yeah, Vancouver's still looking for a center. They still want to get a guy. They still want to add forward support. They want to do this. They want to do that. What's the timeline for these younger players that they've refused to include in trade talks thus far? Like, if Lekaramaki doesn't have a spot in the lineup, and if Willander is just chilling in the AHL, at what point do the Canucks say, all right, well, let's just trade them, get a forward that helps us out now, that tries to put us into contention mode right now, and hopefully convinces Quinn Hughes to stay? I'm not saying that's what I would do, or that that's ideal, but I am saying that it has been discussed by different folks in the media over the past few weeks, so I do kind of wonder if that's a possibility here. Also, when it comes to whom it is the Canucks could acquire in a trade, we're going to make another video about that later on in today's show, because there's a lot to talk about with Buffalo at this point in the year. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Conor Garland being a point-per-game potential guy who's been so good and so reliable and so all this. And also Tom Willander, needing a little bit more time to chill in Abbotsford. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button. If you didn't, the dislike button's down there for you. Comments help out with the algorithm as well, so I'd appreciate it if you got involved there. I hope you enjoyed this video. 9 and bye.